Can ethical investing earn good returns? The first point to make is when we talk about investing, we are inherently seeking returns. Ideally, we're seeking returns for the amount of risk one takes. And the word investment implies you're in the return-making pursuit or the return-making business. This isn't, we're not talking about charity, contributions, gifts. We're talking about investments. So let's just start with the premise that all investments is about earning returns and earning the right returns. When we talk about ethical investment, I think there's three broad categories we can talk about because it's a very poorly defined area. And the first might be ethical investing as expressing your social mores, your personal beliefs, maybe even religious beliefs. If you're Muslim, you don't want to invest in pork production or alcohol production, for example, or consumption. You might believe that tobacco is bad, so you don't want to fund tobacco companies, and that might be a way of expressing your personal social mores or your personal ethical base in your investments. That might also be called negative screening, where you screen out bad things or things you disagree with from your portfolios. Another form of ethical investment might be called positive screening, where you're screening in good things, things you believe are developmental, are good for society, whether it's low-income and affordable housing, or roads, or rail, or power grids, or some sort of development of finance agencies. This is positive screening. It's another form of ethical investing. The third area of ethical investing might fall into the category of what might be called sustainability. And here you think about your investment process in a slightly different way. Normally you do financial statement analysis of companies and you look at the business strategy and such. Now you get into a different area of company analysis. You think about the sustainability of those businesses in terms of how they govern themselves, whether there's appropriate separations of duties and appropriate checks and balances, whether the business model itself is sustainable. A really great example recently in South Africa was the failure of African Bank Investments, a micro-lender, who basically their business model was to get people to borrow more money they can actually effectively pay back. And clearly that's not sustainable. The business must run into some roadblock or barrier at some point as it's an unsustainable business model. So that's a third broad area of ethical investing and sustainability. Those three together probably make up the halo view of ethical investment. But I say again, investing is about returns. So if the question is, can ethical investment earn good returns, I would say that ethical investment must earn good returns. These are all about assessing risks, identifying the required return, and earning those returns. The more risk you take, the more return you should get.